These ladies are fantastic. We spoke a little bit beforehand, and I got to know some of the ins and outs of their business, which I thought were fascinating. So we're excited for today. How about we start off, and if you want to introduce yourself first, and then tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe your favorite party trick, like something you can do that's really cool, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so I'm Camellia. I'm Canadian, and I think I've loved frolicking the world, tapping into many nations. So I've lived in Ukraine, Dominican Republic, Brazil, and of all places in Europe, and now the United States. And I just kind of evolve into tapping into the next cool space that occurs in flow in my world. As for party tricks, I play the bagpipes. I don't know if that's a good way to
That's
have
great.
the party go
Yeah.
down, right? They'll play
She
the party.
basically she starts the party, but yeah.
And my name's Jessica, and I'm French, born in France, moved to Germany as a teenager, and then moved to the States to go to school, and have been here ever since. Party tricks are tricky. I'm extremely shy and introverted, but definitely don't make me sing, but I ride my bike, and that's where I find joy. So maybe if you like to chase me down up a mountain, preferably.
She likes to be chased. This is nice to know.
I like to win. Maybe that's where we'll put it.
There you go. So tell us a little bit about your company. Give us kind of the overview for the ones that don't know anything about what you guys do, and how the conception started.
Yeah, love that. So what we do is we usually meet with businesses and kind of start with what we call a needs analysis, kind of a consulting process where we meet with them and kind of see what are they doing, what works well right now for you, what is your vision, and our background is then in tech. How can we transform, improve what you're doing using technology? And this can take many shapes or forms. We've done apps or e-learning improvements. Maybe instead of just PDFs, it's let's make this interactive, let's make this real world applicable, and kind of meet with them and kind of see what are your goals, what are your ideas, and then I think we could actually take you over here. And then it's always oh, wonderful, can you do it? And it's sure, let's do it. Let's take you over here and show you what we do. And it's been really fun to watch businesses grow. One of our first ones was super meaningful to us. It was for female endurance athletes, and it's something that we both super love. And they were trying to educate women about what do women eat? What should women do when they exercise? And their reach was fairly small, but we saw huge potential in what they were doing. And so we were able to grow their business and have a greater reach, create courses. Now people can get trained and learn about female nutrition, female training. What does that look like? Why is it different from the men? And really see them take off has been really exciting. There's just one little example of someone that we were able to really help scale and grow their reach.
So if someone's looking to hire you, what's a problem they're looking to really be solved? If they're hey, this is why I would reach out.
Yeah, so often companies maybe have had success, but now with technology and its advancements, they're curious what other opportunities maybe we haven't tapped into that we don't even know about. So kind of our expertise is in the imagination, innovation state where we can ideate with these companies and kind of innovate a lot of new spaces and opportunities based on the technology integration expertise that we have. So kind of understanding all the ways to integrate it that's intentional and impactful. So maybe there's a ton of trending words of micro-credentials or online badges or AI, but then we can actually go in with specific emphasis, understand that company or that academic sphere, and then see the best ways to tap into it. So for instance, in our studies, we weren't always obviously AI or ed tech gurus. So I started my education in kinesiology, and then I was an instructor, K-12 for many years in many nations. And then I decided I was going to do kind of doctorate type studies. And then I decided to focus into languages because I was traveling the world so often. So then I mastered different languages and got masters in those languages. And then I decided, well, technology is really neat, so I'm going to take a master's in instructional psychology and technology, and then kind of land in these spaces of, wait, before that I also loved moving my body, so I was a lot in athletics, but then I also liked construction because it was also moving my body. And so I did a lot of like CTE type work. I was an electrician, and then I did painting. And I've worked with different CTE schools here, kind of working on the welding programs. And so it's taking all of those worlds, like all the worlds we live in on this global world, and seeing, wow, what works great in Germany or France or Canada and in the United States? And then what works really well in academia that could transfer to entrepreneurship? And what works really good in CTE that could make sense in an entrepreneurial setting or in academia? And then kind of pulling all the best in those worlds, matching it with technology, and then seeing a new reality build. And so that's kind of where companies come to us. They've seen some success, but they want to see something new, and maybe they don't even know how to tap into it, but we do.
Okay, so that's my next question is, when they know that they need something, but they don't know what they need, how do you guys work that? How do you work it when they come and say, like, we're not exactly sure what we need to grow, but we know we're kind of at that inflection point where we need something?
Yeah, I think that's then where that needs analysis, gap analysis kind of takes place. And it takes time, right? As you can imagine, it's weeks, sometimes months of what are you doing? How are you reaching your goals? What are your KPIs? And then doing like an analysis comparison, like what are other companies similar to you doing? But then I think the bonus is like having been into so many different fields, being like, you know what? For instance, like languages, forever we're like ex-nay on technology. Like you can only do this with humans. And maybe it's hard for people to know because they're like, oh, there's Duolingo. But it's like, no, like technology was a big no-no in language. And then some of our tools being introduced and being like, look, there's some things that technology does really well. And bringing that into a new field is really what's important. So I think comparing like what are other people doing and then what are other fields completely different than you doing and how could it actually translate to something similar to what you're doing or goals you have or things you want to be doing.
So after you do an analysis for someone, do you guys build it? Do you guys just plug in something they already have? How does the next step work when someone comes to you?
Yeah, our original intent was just to be like, here, you've got the map, build it, have fun, peace out. But every single person we've worked with so far has been like, sweet, can you build it? And we've been like, yeah, obviously we can build it. And so we've actually built it. But that wasn't our original intention, but it's been super fun to actually build, pilot, and then improve upon and leave them with something like even better than just a really good plan, but something really good in the end.
Yeah, and maybe just to add on, like when you're in a space, you're kind of the expert of that space. So you kind of forget like all the maybe the nuances or the A to Z of the processes because it's so just second nature to you. It's so natural that you kind of hop steps. And so I think like when we come in and we meet with your subject matter experts, we meet with the people and we dissect out of them like each of those little stackable steps, and then we build out this beautiful pathway for individuals to tap into. The mastery of skill increases. So like those skill gaps that we see versus like academia to transfer to our workspace become eliminated because of those gaps that we can identify as we meet with your experts and then kind of outline all of these different spaces. So it's kind of like a neat opportunity as in kind of being geek guru, to tap into whatever knowledge and education we can. We begin to see, like, we're graphic designers, we're curriculum developers, but we also kind of see the vision of a company being CEOs of multiple companies. Demolder Hill Design is what we're chatting to today. But I sense, like, in it is that opportunity to see, connect, and then, like, bridge gaps that maybe are invisible because you're just too expert. You just forgot to see it all at once.
Okay, for each of you, then, what's the most exciting project that you guys have either been working on, or what's the most exciting thing coming up that you're going to be working on that has surprisingly pushed you out of your comfort zone and kind of energized you?
Yeah, I'll go first. Okay, we just finished up a project for language learning. So we developed an AI chatbot to help students practice speaking, specifically in French and German for now, and we'll be loading up in other languages. And that was really fascinating to sit in, and I think first when we were asked to like, hey, what do you think we could do next? And be like, I really think this is a key thing nobody's doing. And then building it out, and it just won the 2025 Language Learning EdTech Award.
Congratulations.
Thanks. So that was really, really, really exciting to get that out the door and see, all right, excited for version 2 and going in and making improvements.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, and maybe for me, again, because I was a bit of a nomad for a while, frolicking. I think education was a hard spot in that I needed to sit down, right? Like if you're in academia, there's like rules. You got to do certain courses to get to the next level of courses, to get your paper. And I think what I love about technology is kind of opening up new avenues. So now I can study all my interests kind of at one space and build my own online ecosystem of education where my credentials and badges come in. And so I love the opportunities we have to work with companies, whether that be their onboarding or maybe their leadership opportunities in a company, where you can stack these different skills together that are pertinent for like real-time, kind of at-need basis, education or expertise. And then you can kind of build and build and build, and it's not limited to like, oh, but you needed to do the A to Z in the A to Z pattern, but you can kind of hop and move as needed and as pertinent. And so the intention in education can increase and rise so much more. And then the flexibility and opportunity to tap in to the exposure of so many other avenues becomes real. And I think I love that opportunity to go to different companies, again, whether that be entrepreneurship, industry, or academia, and just watch it in real time.
Yeah, that's exciting. I want to go ahead and open it up to questions because I'm sure you guys have better questions than I do for these ladies. Travis will come get the mic and then he can pass it around back and forth.
I was trapped in the public education system for 3 decades. I'm just curious, from your viewpoint, where do you see the future of traditional education and universities?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Working with a lot of universities, some really proactive in the space of let's transform this. We work with several universities that are trying to do micro-credentials and getting those out to the public, and other universities that have no interest in that. So from our perspective, it seems like that's where, if the universities want to keep going, that's where they kind of need to move to, right? And we're seeing some universities really take initiatives and really move forward with more learning for more people. You don't have to be enrolled in their system. You can just take the courses, micro-credentialized. So I think we're seeing a huge shift. I'm super interested to see where it lands, but I think we're happy to see a shift, right? Because learning is a space that hasn't been transformed. It's been around for hundreds of years, and we haven't seen transformation. But now a lot of universities we're working with really are like, how do I build an AI tutor for my students? How do I build courses that are accessible for every learner? You know, instead of 6-hour lectures, you say, you know, people's time span is about 5 to 6 minutes. How do I do that for learning? What does that look like? How do I make it interactive? We know that the gold standard of learning is active learning. It's not a lecture. So how do I do? So some people are very receptive, and I think those are then the people that will be successful.
Yeah, and just maybe to tag on, it's so tricky, right? I think we're so set in our norms, and like a wise person once said, the more we steep ourselves in sameness, the more like difference is just too much for us. And so I sense like in academia, a tricky space is maybe the norms of ease of like past. So we've done it historically, it's easy to continue it. It's kind of disruptive and insane to imagine to debunk it all and maybe try new avenues. But I think the neat opportunity in it is just reaching into what academia is, like the pedagogy of academia, the real good instruction to allow for impactful like industry accomplishments based on, I guess, competent individual humans who can go do good in our world. And I think at that basis, there's a lot of ways to come about that. And so academia, I think, is doing like beautifully in lots of areas, but I think it is a little bit of a nudge of like, can we narrow down our pedagogy? And are we really doing it in the best way we can based on now the increased amount of technology we have and the increased, I guess, human capacities we have as well, and match it in a magic middle, because that's where it is. It's the best of those two worlds, and neither one can replace the other, but when you get that combo just right, like magic really does happen.
Thank you. First of all, I love your energy, and I can see why you excel at what you do. I'm wondering, and I just don't know, it's part of my ignorance, I guess, if this started with the two of you, if it did, then how did you grow? And this is a space that's only going to grow, I imagine, exponentially. And how do you plan to scale to make sure that you stay ahead of that growth and can meet the need that I think people are going to come to you for? So I guess more on the business building side of things rather than the what you do side of things.
Yeah, it did start with the two of us, and it started with just random people reaching out. We do a lot of professional conferences, and people will be like, "Hey, I'm really interested in what you built for this, university. Could you look at what I'm doing? Could we just consult?" And then we just got more and more consulting calls that were like, "We need to build something real." And so then we built it. And then it's like, okay, we were calendaring it out. And then it's like, okay, well, what tasks can we give to somebody else? And having worked in higher ed before, we had already known how to like build teams and train them. And so then it's like, okay, let's take that at a smaller level now, like it's just the two of us. We have this task. My sister happens to be a graphic designer. It's like, okay, let's hire her for this project until we figure it out. And so I think it's what we found really difficult is that balance of like, when do we bring someone else in and are like, do we have enough money for them for the whole year or just for this month? And so just kind of taking it one at a time and hoping that you always have work for them. But it is really difficult. It's something we've really, like sometimes we overbooked ourselves and it's like, great, now we have to work 20 hours a day for 2 months and this is really frustrating. So it is really difficult.
Yeah, I think it's kind of neat, like to all the entrepreneurs out there, right? Like you never sit with your magic. I mean, you probably did your little business plan and considered you had it figured out, but like once you start, it's like never figured out. But I think that's like a new normal to be like, wow, it's messy, but it's fun, it's moving, you're pivoting, you're toggling back and forth. But like realness happens, like impact can happen. And so as we grow our business, I think it's like continually being involved with opportunities to educate ourselves, but like obviously with your community or your sphere of opportunities in your realms. And with that, like yes, like intentional growth is always on the plate, I think, of all entrepreneurs. But I think it's also seeing again, like what is the best that you can like train and then train well. And I think that's the benefit of us as a company that is expertise, I guess, in like education, training, learning, design. Because you can really scaffold it so well so that there can be experts all around. And so it's not like, oh my gosh, like if we had 1 million contracts today, we would crumble. It's like, oh, if we had 1 million contracts today, we would have 1 million stackable credentials that would meet based on the processes we have and the patterns that we see. And so again, like companies can tap into that. Then there never is this fall or rise based on, I guess, industry fall or rise. But you can really have incredible people stationed in our world at a global speed. And it's done when it's done intentionally well. Now, if you're just slapping people into onboarding that most of us have sat into and we fall asleep in, like yes, like you probably won't see success and you'll have 20-hour weeks. But if it's intentional, yeah, you can just watch like experts come in and again with new lenses of those experts probably take it further than we've yet to imagine and other companies too.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Pluralsight or some of these other Brainstorm, some of these other companies. They've actually been around for a while. Pluralsight was around for like 20 years. They've since downsized quite a bit and are actually leaving the state of Utah recently. And you used to hear about ed tech quite a bit, right? That's how you get your skills and update things. What are you doing differently to grow your business and how can you avoid those pitfalls that they went through?
Yeah, I think, I'll jump in. I think that's a great question. I think the ed tech field is ever changing, and I think that's why you need like a lens to help you see what's coming ahead and where do we pivot and grow without, falling hard. So I think that's what we try to help companies consult in, right? And seeing like what's the landscape, where can we help you get some growth.
What's your best client fit? And could you share a success story?
Yeah, so we've spent a ton of time in language and I guess like a global lens on space. And so maybe in opportunities to obviously like academia and education we've sat in a ton too. And so we have a client right now who is similarly like in language spaces, and they're trying to build curriculum for professional development for educators as well that would impact students in those spaces. And so as we look at like opportunities to educate, kind of like we were just talking about, like there's certain norms we have maybe in K-12 systems, but maybe there's new ways to build into it. And language specifically, I would say, is senses, right? So like when you're in a language, you like, or a world, and you hit a new nation, you like can smell that nation. You taste it, you hear it with the music that plays, like there's a vibe in it. And so in what ways can you build that vibe like in a classroom without having to relocate all those students to a
Or
new world?
online, right?
Yeah, so I think that's where this is a beautiful connection with this client, where we have sat in global spaces, maybe not like a tourist land, but like literally saturated ourselves in many different nations, and to see those different vibes and trends and national tendencies, and then ways that now we can, with technology, bring some of those senses so it's live. I mean, I think we all love 3D, 4D movies. We all love kind of, if we're gamers, we love the remote control that vibrates when we play. Like, we love being brought into the experience. And I think the same is with education now. It can be real. It can be NASA-type simulation. And so it's really fun to imagine and innovate with them, probably because it's a lot of our same worlds. And I think similarly, having an opportunity to work with a trades company, and looking at welding. I'm not a welder, but being able to like put the mask on and like start a fire in there, you know, I was very much non-expert until you work with these experts and you develop it, and then you start to see like, wow, this is so cool, but like what are other ways that people can become expert in this space without just like 20 students cuddled around an expert looking at a flame? Like, it's really hard. Maybe you missed something. And there was a million steps before we got to the flame, right? So I sense like those type of connections that have combined like the global lens, maybe with education, have been really fun and neat to work with.
Okay, if it's all right, I'd love to ask a question. So, yeah, I'm an intern here, and I just love, like, I can tell that both of you are natural entrepreneurs, and my question is, what piqued your interest, and what, like, I guess, what helped you to know that entrepreneurism is something that you were interested in? And then what helped you get past the fear of failure for building that first business?
Yeah, so I think like starting entrepreneurship it's kind of like a space, maybe I felt like it wasn't my space to touch in a weird way. So like I always fancied business. I thought business was really cool. I didn't go to business school, but I kind of wish I had as my younger me, you know? But I don't know, maybe it's the same way like Jess grew up in France with the tour, right? We just all watched the tour, hopefully. Just jokes. Of cycling, and she was a woman, and she was watching these men cycle all the time. But she never considered like she could cycle because she never saw a woman cycling, right? And I think that was with business and entrepreneurship. Like in my family, love my family, incredible, but no one was entrepreneurs. No one did business. And the business people I knew were all my like male mates. And so it was a little bit like, maybe like I could, I don't know, do like tackle football during recess, but I don't know why like business didn't sit in. And I think it came because of what Jessica mentioned earlier. Like we were in a space and dominating the space, maybe unbeknownst to ourselves, and people wanted to know more. People were asking us to do stuff. People were inquiring like, I just need your skills in my space now, please, you know? And I think that was it. It was like inquiries that said, hey, like you have talent in this space, and people, like if you increased your reach, you could increase your impact for good in our world. And I think that's kind of what like invited me into this maybe unknown entrepreneurship, back of my mind, unconscious, always fancied space. It's kind of the way, I rolled into it.
Yeah, and I'd say it was definitely unintentional. It was not my plan. I think I had planned I was going to be a professor, and that was what I was going to do. My whole trajectory was, this is where I'm going. And just different opportunities came and went. And honestly, I was super nervous. Like, it was not something that I was like, oh yeah, that's going to be easy peasy, even though my grandparents are entrepreneurs and they did fantastic. But I was just like, no, this isn't for me. I was nervous, but I think because we started it together, I felt like I always had, when I had my nervous moments and I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Like, no one's called this month. And it's like, it's fine. Someone always ends up calling, and then being okay. But for me, it was, I would say, difficult. I think it was just like, oh, I got to feed the kids something, like what's going to happen? And it wasn't my plan, but I think the way things ebbed and flowed, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad this is what we picked and this is what I'm doing now. But I'd say it maybe being okay sitting in where it feels like the current's taking you here and now here and here, and it's just like, oh, I'm not sure what's going to come, but then it lands and it's like, okay, well, this is actually really cool and really fun, and we get to work with really fantastic people, and yeah, I love creative work, so I think that's maybe too where it's like you get to be more creative in the entrepreneurial world, whereas when I was in academia, I'd get frustrated when it's like, hey, we need to do it this way, or I see this big vision. It's like, okay, we'll submit proposals, and in 5 years you'll be able to build it. And it's like, yeah, but in 5 years there'll be new technology, and I'd get really frustrated. Whereas here it's like, I want to build this. And it's like, okay, let's do it. Go. And so I think that I've appreciated that from it.
Yeah, maybe just to tag on once too. I remember someone saying once, like, what if it turned out exactly as you imagined? And so you kind of just sit in that in the middle of the mess, right? And I think, like, there's so much opportunity we have, even if you're not, like, strictly educated in business. Like, I think of me as, like, young Camellia. And I was in school, and we had pencil boxes, and it was really cool to get, like, your marker out and color on top of the pencil box, and then put runny white glue over top, and then let it dry, and then you pull it off, you had a bookmark. And I was like, people are fancy in the bookmarks. So I started a little bookmark glue business under my desk during school. I just let them dry, and then they made them, and I was like selling these bookmarks. And then I was like, oh, cool, like I can put business stuff, I don't know, and make pennies. And so I started getting a balloon, and I put flour in there, and I sold it like as the stress calm bomb, at the next year in school. And I was like, oh yeah, business guru. And then the next year, slime. I mean, we had a big slime outbreak, past too, cycling back, but slime was big when I was in school. So I remember grade 6 making little buckets of slime and selling, and you kind of like, it's just like innately in you to see. I think the best thing is you're not trying to sell anything. I think that's where we get wrong in entrepreneurship. But you're trying to like solve real needs. And maybe as a kid, that was like a bookmark for the books we had to read in school. But I think if you look at it as the lens of like, you have skills, and you have talents, and you have lens that no one else has in our entire world. And if you could just imagine that it actually all worked out as it is in your head, like you could do so much good in our world. And I think that's what entrepreneurship is. And that's why you can sit in this messy flow of like ups and downs and contracts and no contracts, because it's you. It's innately you. And the stuff that's in you, if it just got sprinkled on our world, it would be a better world.
We're going to end on that. These girls are incredible, obviously. So feel free to come up and introduce yourselves afterwards, ask them any questions that you have. But thank you guys so much for being here. This was fantastic. We really enjoyed it. So thank you.